Welcome back on this Wednesday morning for our palate cleanser. This is a good one. There's a lot to cover. Let's jump in and get there, shall we? Let's go. We're going to start off with Prince Edward. Now, we've already covered what went on at the cenotaph, but for some reason, and I think it's because he's finally getting the recognition he deserves, they did an article just on Prince Edward. Remember, he is the Royal Honorary Colonel of the Royal Wessex Yeomanry for the last 20 years. He put a note up that said, quote, "To remember all who have made the ultimate sacrifice, especially members of the Volunteer Reserve Force." And the note went on and on. Personally, I'm just glad that Edward is finally getting some recognition because he's been a hardworking, member of the royal family for quite some time. I love all the wreaths that were put up, though. Absolutely gorgeous. All right, let's continue. Next up, on November 11th, I hope I'm saying this name right, King Charles greeted the King of the Kingdom of Bahrain, Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa. And he's there in the UK to mark the year of his silver jubilee. King Hamad was English educated. Apparently, they have a very close family relationship that's been going for several decades. He and his son Salman were seen a lot with the late Queen Elizabeth in the royal box at Ascot, and then, visits from Charles and then the Prince of Wales in the past. The 1st Battalion Welsh Guard are the ones that were standing on the lawn, and then the King and, of course, King Charles inspected the Guard of Honor. Love it. King Hamad, his father was the Emir, and he ruled the Gulf state from 1961 until he passed away in 1999. And he spent time with Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip when they went on a tour of the Middle East in 1979. Looks like the two of them have a lot to catch up on. All right, next up we have Princess Anne. She was at the Loki House. She is their patron, and she agreed to hold a special dinner at the Palace of Holyrood. This took place on October 23rd, and this was a benefactor's dinner. This is located in Scotland, for those of you who don't know, and it says on their site on Twitter that they give short breaks with 24-hour expert nursing care for those living with neurological conditions. I think that's very nice. All right, continuing on. Next up on November 11th, Sir Tim Lawrence helped out with some poppies at Paddington. It's an initiative started back when COVID was in full force, where poppy wreaths are placed on Great Western Railway trains to be transported to the capital. It was started by a man named Paul Gentleman. Let's move on now to Sophie, the Duchess of Edinburgh, also on the 11th. She went to an Armistice Day service. It's a service of remembrance at the National Memorial Arboretum. The service was done by a Reverend Malcolm McNaughton, Bishop of Repton, and the Reverend Vic Van de Burgh, who's honorary chaplain to the Arboretum. This was unveiled by Queen Elizabeth in 2007, and the memorial is designed so at 11 o'clock on November 11th, a shaft of light falls on the wreath right at its center. So she read an extract from For the Fallen, which is a poem, and then she also, of course, laid the wreath at the Armed Forces Memorial alongside representatives from the government and the military. I don't know if you guys saw the brooch just now that she's wearing, but it is a regimental brooch from the Corps of Royal Electrical and Mechanical Engineers, of which she is Colonel-in-Chief, as well as the 3 poppies. When she had the chance to, Sophie walked around looking at the memorial itself. There's over 16,000 names of those in the armed forces who were killed on duty there. It's just beautiful. Looks like a beautiful memorial there. Of course, she signed the guest book. People were really praising her, though, for the way she behaved. Love it. Moving on. Let's move on to Andrew now. Apparently, it's being reported he has secured his stay at the Royal Lodge after getting sufficient funds from, what he's claiming are legitimate sources. However, Andrew's still worried that the 30-room royal mansion are not yet over because that can change at any minute based on what King Charles says. So, if Charles says, listen, I know he has at least with the Crown Estate, but the Royal Lodge, while it's part of the Crown Estate, any decision, especially regarding succession or lease assignments, is taken about the property is possibly needing the king's approval. So if Andrew were to vacate the property, either by choice or circumstance, the Crown Estate or King Charles could choose to end the lease, give it to another royal, or open it up for new arrangements within the royal family. That's how it works. Let's move on now to Princess Eugenie, the Princess of York. She apparently went to a charity event Thursday night. It's called the Poppy Ball Dinner at the Royal Albert Hall. And she was in this full-length ball gown right before Remembrance Day. But I got to tell you, people did not like that dress. Now, nobody was body shaming her. What they said was it's a pretty dress. The cut was perfect for her, but the stitching was too much. Somebody else didn't like the peekaboo shoulders, but I happen to like that. All right, moving on. All right, next up, I know he's not really a royal, but Catherine's brother, James Middleton, apparently won the New Product of the Year award at the Pet Industry Federation Awards. He founded James and Ella in honor of his late therapy dog, and he was recognized for his innovative pet food products. Remember, he sells pet food now. So in a video that he put up online, he and the other dog, Isla, I believe is how you say it, were filmed celebrating at the award ceremony. Isla was on her rear paws and was dancing with James. Mr. Middleton has come out with a hybrid pet food. That's what won the award. Very interesting. On his website, he says, it can be hard to balance nutritious value with convenience. And so they've explored different methods of preparing the dog's food. And they are the first to market in the UK with freeze drying the food and cold pressing methods in their very own kitchen. I think that's fabulous. So they have freeze dried raw chicken, kibble and raw, cold pressed food, and freeze-dried raw topper. Apparently this is going really well for him, and good for him. I'm glad he was able to take a negative and turn it into a positive. You guys know what I mean. All right, you guys, you know what to do. Hit the like and the subscribe button. Don't forget to leave those comments first, though, and the bell for all notifications. Then go down into the description box where you'll find the link to my Twitter, my Gettr, my Rumble, my email, my physical address, my Patreon, which is currently paused. For those of you who've donated to my coffee fund, thank you so much. And as always, you guys, have a great day.